Okay, Math 2, this is going to be excuse me, day 2 of our solving by factoring, and we're also going to cover something at the very beginning here, talking about the solutions and roots. So writing an equation, writing a quadratic equation if we're given the roots. So the first thing I'm going to do is just over here off to the side, I'm just going to make up a quick example, and we're going to go through and solve by factoring like we did last night. So real quick, I'm going to solve this by factoring. This is just a review of last night. So I factor this, and the two factors are 3 times 2 will give you 6, and 3 plus 2 will give you 5. So I have my two factors. Then I split each of those up into two little mini equations. Solve the mini equations separately, and that gives me my roots. So the only reason I did that is because I wanted a reference here. What we're going to do is I'm going to start off with the roots instead and make you work backwards to come up with the quadratic that those are satisfied. So all we're going to do, I'm just going to reference this and work backwards. So if I have x equals 3 here, notice over here, before I had my answer, it was originally something equal to 0. So I want to figure out how to make this equal 0. So I subtract 3 from both sides and make it x minus 3 equals 0. Same thing on this side. How can I make it equal 0? And you find out if you add 4. Now, that puts me at this point, and if I'm working backwards, where did these two mini equations come from? They came from right here, having these two factors equal 0. So I'm going to make these two equal 0. On my solving, these two came from the quadratic, and then we did factoring to get that. Well, I can't do factoring here, but I'm going to do the distributive property. I'm going to FOIL these out. So if I just multiply those out, I end up with what I wanted. Alright, so here's the quadratic equation that will give me x equals 3 and x equals negative 4 as roots. Play that back a couple times if you need to. I'm going to do another example. Alright, so where did x equals 2 and x equals negative 3 come from? It came from here. So I made those two mini equations equal 0. I set those two mini equations to multiply by each other, and then I just FOIL them out. And that's the equation that they must have came from. Alright, take a minute to look over that. Two more to look at real quick. First off, if you have something that says plus or minus, that really means you have two different equations here. So I'm going to set them up equal and work them backwards. Alright, so you can see I ended up with x squared minus 16 equals 0. Should be a 0 right here. Alright. On this bottom example, this is very popular. You do see a lot of fractions sometimes. Now, if I started off doing it like I did the last problem, I would have had x minus 2/3 equals 0 and x minus 4/5 equals 0. And while this way would work, I can assure you that nobody wants to go through and multiply by all these fractions using the FOIL method. Okay? This way would work, but it's ugly, and I don't want to go that way. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to figure out, let's think about this work backwards. I'm going to get rid of the 3. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 3 and get this equation. Now it's a little bit more straightforward, and now I can subtract the 2 to get this. And this looks way better than that junk I had over here with fractions. Try that again on this side. And you can see that you have a much nicer binomial. Put those two binomials together and then FOIL them out. And there you have it. So be careful with your practice tonight. There's an assignment uploaded. We'll see you tomorrow.